Hello, everybody. This is the first office hour section. I apologize, I'm about 5 minutes late. I've been recording lecture videos for you, and I began one slightly past 2. And I had budgeted myself an hour, and I was trying to keep up the pace and make sure I finished before 3, but I really did need the whole hour. But I'm here now. And I imagine probably alone today, but hopefully for future sessions, I will be joined by some of you. I'm just going to pull up the video to make sure that if anyone is in fact joining me today, I can see the chat. So let's see here. Oh my, okay, there's quite a few people here, it seems. So I see many of you are already in the chat. That's great. Yeah, so any questions you have, you can type into the chat. I'll do my best to answer them. I do want to take maybe 5 to 10 minutes just to mention a few things before I take questions. First of all, I sent out an email to all of you with a link to an introductory video. That is here. I just put it in the chat. If you are looking for some kind of course resource or are confused about how to use certain elements of our platform, that video is meant to help. I'll address why we're using Python 2 in a bit. It's less of a big deal than maybe everyone thinks. The other thing I want to draw attention to is, and it seems like all of you found your way here. So hopefully everyone has noticed this video links tab on Jupyter Hub. I've already updated it with a couple more video links for lecture videos. I'm going to be continuing that throughout the day as well as tomorrow. There are each week going to be 4 one-hour video lectures that I'll upload as early in the week as I can. And I will be updating this page, and you can always find the current video links there. Of course, there's these office hour links that go off far into the future. There, of course, will not be anything there because this doesn't happen for another 7 weeks in August. So don't feel confused if you try to find a video in the future and it's not there. The schedule for office hours is here. One thing I warn about in the introductory video, and I want to warn about again, is we will be making use of private YouTube videos. Currently, we are not, because there is a technical issue with private videos on YouTube at the moment. But we will be using them in the future. We will be sharing the videos with the accounts that you used to enroll in the course. That means you should check what account you've used to log into YouTube and make sure that account is the one you use to register or enroll in the course. Otherwise, you will not necessarily be able to access the videos. This is always a stumbling block for some people, and hopefully, everyone is savvy to this and no one gets caught up in that trap. Additionally, one more thing, on the discussion board, I see some of you are making use of it already. I also went over this in the introductory video, but since I have some of you here, I want to emphasize exactly how I would like for this discussion board to be used for everyone's kind of benefit. It's modeled after Stack Overflow, which is a very popular website for posting questions about programming issues that people are having. So if you're familiar with Stack Overflow, same idea. If you're not, check out Stack Overflow. It's a terrific, tremendous resource. But the use is basically exemplified by this example question I posted. So when you post a question, try to make sure that it has a nice, succinct, short, descriptive title. State exactly what issue you're having and show what you've tried to do and what's going wrong. And when you do that, definitely try to provide code if you can, and try to make sure that your code is correctly formatted. So there is, for instance, here where I have code, it's indented 4 spaces. The way I did this was I simply highlighted this, and there's a little code button, and it will just bump those over 4 spaces. And if you were watching as I did that, the formatting down here updated. So I'll do it again. Here, it's really ugly, hard to read. Nice and easy to read. So definitely do that. Make sure that you're formatting things nicely. Secondly, if a question is answered and the answer is correct and you have asked the question, please mark the answer as correct with this little check mark. Just click the check mark. And also, when you find answers or comments or questions helpful, upvote them. And that will draw people's attention to them. And if you do all those things and don't ask duplicate questions, don't ask questions with like unclear titles, make sure you're providing all the necessary information to answer your question, then I think everyone's going to find this to be a tremendous resource. All the information will be very easy to find, and what's valuable will be clear. Okay, that's the little spiel I wanted to give. I'm going to move on to looking at some of these questions. So it seems that hopefully the question about Jupyter Hub spawning the server is sorted out. Yeah, refreshing the page worked. So this question about why we're using Python 2 versus Python 3. So I'm actually going to pull up the question on the discussion board, and I'll write out a answer there. So the course is entirely within Python 2. And you can't, we don't, I don't think we do. So we do actually provide a Python 3 kernel, but, and using the Python 3 kernel is not guaranteed to work. The Python 3 environment provided is very minimal and is missing a lot of packages you may need throughout the course. I would not recommend using Python 3 for completion of the assignments. But if you want to run independent experiments or develop independent projects in Python 3, that's fine. Here's the thing. It really doesn't matter. Python 2 and Python 3 are extremely, extremely similar. The only reason it's in Python 2 and not Python 3 is because, like, currently we have a lot of infrastructure written in Python 2, and we're in the process of translating all that stuff into Python 3, but it's an ongoing process. And since all of our infrastructure is in Python 2 right now, we have the course material in Python 2 as well. However, almost everything that we will show you translates exactly into Python 3. And the thing that most commonly doesn't is let's see here. New Python 3 notebook. The one biggest source of issues in terms of translating our course content into Python 3 is you can't do this in Python 3. Print must have parentheses. And this is really inconsequential and doesn't affect anything, but we use tons of print statements, and yeah, just that causes things to break. Because we have a lot of print statements like this, because this is allowed in Python 2. But Python 2 and Python 3 are extremely similar, and anything you learn in Python 2 is going to translate into Python 3 exactly or almost exactly. There's almost nothing that's substantially different in Python 3. That said, the fact that the course is in Python 2 is no big deal. Python 2 and Python 3 are extremely similar. And in fact, most Python 2 code runs in Python 3 without modification. So there's the answer. Yeah, legacy issues, exactly. Our company started in 2013. Python 3 was around, but hadn't seen super wide scale adoption. at the time. And yeah, now we're reaching end of life for Python 2. So we're getting real about translating over to Python 3, but it's an ongoing process. So let's see here. There were a couple of other questions on the discussion board. And yeah, if you have any additional questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I'd be happy to answer. This week, by the way, just to give you an idea, so there's like a little syllabus in this WQ intro notebook. We're really just going over fundamentals this week, more or less, to make sure that everyone starts out on a nice, even footing. We'll probably actually start to get into data structures this week. So I'm in the process of recording the lecture videos. I was recording one just before this office hour, and I'll probably return to that once we're done. I expect to get into data structures probably before next week, but I'm not sure. But in any case, if you're trying to gauge how much progress you should be making, you know, watch the lecture videos as they become available. They'll guide you through the notebooks. The notebooks we'll probably be covering are the intro, program flow, maybe Pythonic. I'm not quite sure exactly what order I'm going to do these in yet, but yeah, Pythonic, perhaps algorithms. We'll see. I might throw data structures in there earlier because data structures are like really fundamental and it's hard to do things without them. So I'll probably actually do that earlier. And in terms of assignments or ways to practice and exercise, first of all, there are loads of exercises in the notebooks. I highly, highly encourage you to do those. We don't evaluate in any way your performance on those, but they're really useful self-assessments. And if you're struggling with them, post a question. And additionally, there is a mini project folder in the Python directory that has 3 mini projects. As is mentioned on the homepage on Jupyter, IN is the first one, IP is the second one. If you can complete IN this week, that would be a good goal. It's very simple. It's really just meant to introduce you to how our grading system works. But our grading system is a little bit, I know most people haven't worked with something like this before. We designed it. It's sort of new or different. So definitely give that a try. If you encounter problems or are unsure of exactly what to do, post a question on the question and answer board. And then if you feel comfortable with how our grader works, then you can try moving on to the IP mini project, which gives you some programming challenges. They're all sort of mathematically based, but they are challenges that will get you coding and thinking about how to write good code. The classes would be posted earlier than 11 a.m. EST. Lecture videos are going to be recorded, not live. I am not going to say exactly when I'm going to release them each week, but my goal is to have them released before Tuesday at 11 a.m. EST. On rare circumstances, that might not be the case. But my goal is every week, Tuesday before 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll try and get them even earlier than that. So there's one lecture video up now. After this office hour, I'll be uploading another one. And then I have 2 more hours of lectures to record for this week. But I'll only have 1 more hour left in my workday. So probably they won't be up until tomorrow before 11 a.m. EST. But usually I'll try and get them up earlier than that. There was a very fundamental question on the board. What is office hours? So hopefully for everyone who's like here, this is manifestly obvious. This is a time for you and me to interact live in person, rather than mediated by pre-recorded videos and an asynchronous message board. But since, you know, our students in this course are all around the world, and often live quite far from me, it's not going to serve anyone very well if we do everything live. So we've tried to design this to be as asynchronous, and, you know, allow people to proceed at their own pace as we can. So I'll go ahead and answer this. Correct. The purpose of office hours. Oh yeah, I also wanted to link something else. Cool. Oh my. Okay. You do not need to install anything for this course. We have given you the Jupyter Hub environment expressly so you can hit the ground running and do not need to install anything. Yeah, so this wqu.tdi train site is Jupyter Hub, which has, you know, if you start my server, it will take you to something like this, where all the course content is hosted for you. And this is where you will be studying and completing your assignments. And it's an interactive Python environment. So you don't need to install Python locally. I will talk about how to do that at some point, how to install Python locally. I know that many of you have limited internet access, and I want to make sure that you're able to work even when you're not connected to the internet, or study when you're not connected to the internet. So I'll show you at some point, I'm not exactly sure when, how to install Python and download the course material and get it running on your personal machines. Yes, so I also saw a question like this on the message board. So questions are scaled from 0 to 1. Yeah, scores are scaled from 0 to 1. There are a few questions in the ML mini project, machine learning mini project, where it's possible to get higher than a 1. But most of the time, it will, 1 means perfect. It is, yeah, it's only possible in the ML mini project, which we'll get to like towards the end of the course. Is there visibility on the test cases for grading? Sort of. Sometimes no, sometimes kind of. So what I would say is many of the questions don't have test cases per se. You are rather asked to compute something from a fixed data source that you have access to. So this is like maybe a table of some kind, and we ask you to calculate some statistics. More like the first, similar to the first question in, or like to question 1 in IN. Some questions, I believe in IP and ML, possibly elsewhere, actually have test cases where you are given some input and your function has to return some output. But these are intentionally hidden so that you can't exploit them to generate trivial answers or trivial solutions. However, in all cases, we try to tell you explicitly what to expect as input, as well as what to return as output, i.e. what data types, what shape, or like size, etc., or like any structural information. So for example, there is a degree of trial and error to see what the functions are parameterized with, e.g. x is an array. So here we tell you your solution at your function molt on x should take in a list and return a list. So this is what I mean. Like we try and tell you exactly what you should take in and return. Now, you may be saying like, well, I got an error message that said something about an array, and isn't an array different than a list? No. An array is a type of list, and an array is actually not a Python data type. We use the word array to refer to an abstract data type that we use in our type checking in our grader. An array, if you get an error from the grader and it's talking about an array, it's essentially talking about a list or a tuple. It's talking about a container, a collection of items that is ordered. And that'll make more sense when we talk about data structures, but hopefully that clears things up somewhat. In question 2 in IN, we specify that the function should take a list as input and return a list as output. Cool. One more thing, I'm probably gonna like repeat myself a lot. I apologize to everyone. I'm gonna probably repeat myself a lot throughout the lectures, throughout the office hours, all that sort of thing. But the fact is, like, there's like 500 students in the course, and I'm one instructor, and kind of like the #1 difficulty I face as an instructor of 500 students is people not getting the information they need, and then getting confused or lost. So for me, part of combating that is just to repeat myself a lot in as many different places as possible. So that said, one thing I do want to blast out there in terms of course policy is there is a certificate associated with this course. There are 2 certificates. There is a participation certificate, or like a certificate of completion, and there is a certificate of completion with honors or with distinction. In order to get distinction or honors, you must complete every question in every mini project, and across all those questions, get an average of 0.9 or above. In order to get a certificate of completion, you must answer every single question in every single mini project. What does it mean? It means not that you must get a particular score, but that you must submit a valid answer to the grader. And you'll know it was valid because you get a score back. So the score doesn't matter for a certificate of completion. What matters is that you submitted a valid answer. But if you want to get honors, then you need to obtain an average score of 0.9 or above. Great question, Jens. When doing the project, do we need to submit them, or once you finish it, it'll happen automatically? So once you run a cell with grader.score and you receive a score in response, that is the submission. That score, 0.4, gets recorded in our gradebook. So in fact, if I go to my control panel, I can click on grades, and I can go Okay, so the problem here is I'm looking at the wrong account. So I'm going to start up this server. So I'll demo this in a moment, but essentially, like, it will update in your grades. So what should happen is you see a score here, you can go to your gradebook, and it should appear there. And if it appears there, everything's golden. You successfully submitted your answer. Here we go. So, I maybe open up the IN mini project. I say, I know my even numbers super well, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I forgot to import the grader. There we go. I got a 0.4. Now I can go back to the control panel. I click on grades, and I see my 0.4 there for problem 1. So it happens automatically when you run grader.score. For VNU, for a certificate with distinction, you need to, 0.9 out of 1 averaged across every question. So you can get some question, like if there were 2 questions in the entire course, say, and you got a 0.8 on one and a 1 on the other one, that would be fine. That's a 0.9 average. So you need a 0.9 average across all the questions. I will. Okay, I'll maybe put something about this, about the Lucas Lamer series somewhere. I thought we had fixed this, but I guess not. One thing about the Lucas Lamer series is, like, you don't need to sort this out by trial and error. You can Google Lucas Lamer, and there's a whole Wikipedia article on it. And I think this exemplifies, like, the spirit in which you should be doing this work. Speaking as, like, a professional, it's not important that you do everything from memory. You'll see as I'm giving the lectures, I haven't really had to do it yet, but you'll see as I continue to give lectures that there's a ton of stuff that I just don't know off the top of my head. But I have, like, a good idea of how it's supposed to be done. And so I start Googling. And you should absolutely be searching for things on Google, reading documentation, looking at Stack Overflow. And as we move into more complex topics, I will be emphasizing that more. But yeah, don't, like, spend a lot of time doing, like, trial and error, or like saying, I don't know XYZ mathematical thing or what have you. Like, Google it. Absolutely. Kevin, this is, like, a little bit vague. Hard for me to say exactly what you're asking about with regard to the Mersenne number series. Yeah, you can resubmit solutions as many times as you want, and the highest score will be recorded. That said, something that I forgot to mention in the introductory video, and I am now kicking myself for. There is a rate limiter on the grader. The grader is rate limited. No more than 3 submissions per minute or 50 submissions per day. So this is another really good reason not to do trial and error. Think about your solution. Otherwise, you will get locked out of the grader. So yeah, it's, like, very important that you think hard about what you're doing to solve the problem. And like when you submit an answer, it should be because you think you've solved the problem, not because you're trying to use the grader as a feedback system. Because we will lock you out and we cannot reset it. There is no way for us to reset that rate limiter. So yeah, I don't know exactly what you mean here, Kevin, about the Mersenne number series, but one thing I can say, or I can maybe explain a little bit. So Mersenne numbers are numbers like 2 to the p minus 1 for some p, as it says here. So yeah, like 3 is a Mersenne number, 2 squared minus 1, 31 is 2 to the 5 minus 1. So you can like create a series of Mersenne numbers just by iterating p from 1 to whatever and just taking 2 to that power minus 1. And that will give you a series of Mersenne numbers. The reason that we, oh wow, this is horrifically backwards. Oh, that's unfortunate. The reason that we are asking about Mersenne numbers in this is, as you work through it, you'll find out that it's connected to a very cool test for if numbers are prime. Prime numbers are like really important in cryptography. Not that like this is a course about cryptography, but yeah, prime numbers are like interesting mathematical objects and are often used for programming exercises. So yeah, the content of the IP mini project is not like extremely relevant, but the goal of the IP mini project is to get you thinking about programming and to encourage you to start writing code. You are going to need to participate in writing your own code if you want to actually learn something in this course. You will not learn much in this course without actually doing the work of writing code. The reason for these first exercises, we're using these like mathematical ideas is because they are extremely well defined and unambiguous, and therefore like very easy to like nail down exactly what's being asked for. It's just like very unambiguous. As soon as we move into handling data, which will be in the Python DS directory, where there's a PW and a DW mini project, things are going to get a lot more ambiguous. There's going to be things in the data set that make it sort of unclear exactly what you should do. And that's not because like the data set is wrong. It's just because that's what real world data is like. It's often dirty. There's often missing information or wrong information. And often there's like ambiguity. You might have 2 entries for the same kind of entity. And you need some way to decide which one you're going to use. It would be really hard to like start teaching programming fundamentals with that level of ambiguity. So how do I change the password of the Jupyter Hub? It is not possible. I am sorry, you are stuck with the password that we gave you. That's it. One more comment about this discussion board. So currently, there's 5 questions. I have answered 4 of them. I don't know what volume of traffic is going to come through this discussion board, but I am not necessarily going to be able to answer every question. I'm simply not necessarily going to have time. Again, there's like 500 students and 1 of me. So I am relying on you all to teach each other as well. And this isn't just like a cop-out just because I'm one person, but it's actually a big help. I have been involved in education research, and students do dramatically better when they engage with each other and instruct each other. The instructor, me, I'm sort of far away from where you are. And I don't necessarily have the same perspective you do. And I don't communicate things necessarily in the way that is easiest for you to understand. And students also tend to regard what their instructors say as having the weight of authority, and therefore often just like unquestioningly kind of record it as a fact in their mind, rather than investigate and question and try to construct meaning for themselves. And a lot more of that goes on between you all when you interact with each other, because then you're peers and you're talking the same language, you're thinking more similarly, and also you're more skeptical of each other. So you dig deeper into the problems. And so I am really hopeful that over the course of the next 8 weeks, that you all are active participants, not only in asking questions on the board, but answering questions. Answering questions will not only extend your own learning, but it'll create more community, and it will extend everyone's learning. So we've got about 5 minutes left in the office hour. There is another one tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We try and stagger them because, again, people are all over the world, and yeah, offering different times hopefully allows for different people to attend. Any last questions in the last few minutes? Great question. And another thing I probably should have remarked about but forgot about. Okay, so how should we handle the fact that you have 1 copy of these things? But they're like an interactive environment. A lot of the benefit of like being in Jupyter Notebooks is you can create new cells and write code and modify code and do experiments. And I don't want to stop you from doing that for 1 second. I think that's fantastic, and you should absolutely do it. So a couple things that you can consider doing. 1, duplicate the notebook. Now I've got 2 copies. 1 can be an original clean copy, and 1 can be the one where I like mess around and make notes and whatever. That's one thing. 2, let's say you did something like you deleted a notebook, or you like got rid of some code and you didn't want to. There is a way to recover course content. However, you should be careful about using it and not use it unless you need to. You should not be relying on this. You should rather duplicate the notebooks. So what you can do is you can open up a terminal under New Terminal, and that will give you a terminal emulator on your pod. So your like little server thing. So there is if you go into DataCourse, so this is a Unix terminal, or a Linux terminal, or Unix-like terminal, whatever. If you are not familiar with that, then beware. You can mess things up very badly. However, you can do exactly what I'm about to show you. So I changed directory cd into DataCourse. In DataCourse, what we can see here is this update modules.sh file. You see that here. You can run that, update modules sh, and if you do like update modules Python, it will download new copies of all the course content in the Python module, and it put it in python.new. So here I have a python.new directory with fresh copies of all the course material for the Python module. And you can also do that with machine learning and Python DS. But keep in mind, if I then like modify things here and I make notes in these, and then I run this again, it's going to overwrite python.new. So be careful. And also you're in a terminal, so be careful. So let me put that here. Cd in terminal, cd DataCourse, /update modules, .sh, name of module. For, remove the HTML tags and try again. That wasn't an HTML tag, come on now. In case oh yeah, so YouTube automatically like turns these live streams into videos. So this will be available forever at the same link. Office hours will always be available as permanent recordings at the same link as this original stream. Cool. So that brings us up to 4 o'clock. That's the end of the office hour. If you have any outstanding questions, feel free to bring them to the Q&A site. Or if you're really like got some kind of horrible technical issue, you can email dsmodule@wqu.org. Yeah, so I wish everyone a good day, and I look forward to teaching you.